structured, laid out program, which I do it all over the world. But before I start off, it'd be a pleasure to get introduced to each one of you all, right? And guess if there's any expectations from your side. So if in case throughout the day I get time, it'll be a pleasure customizing it. Can I start with you, ma'am?
Yeah, I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
Working for Hindustan Platinum as a DGM QMS. I would like to, now I am doing costing for our company, and I would like to know how to read a balance sheet, how to understand balance sheet. That is my.
Read and understand balance sheet. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Venkat Pai, working for Eureka Pulp Limited as a regional manager, looking after sales and marketing. And I would like to learn from this how finance impacts business.
Okay. What are the implications, sir? Sure.
I used to start, I work with Eureka Pulp, I head the digital marketing function.
Any expectations, sir? Okay.
Dr. Rajiv Purandar, I head the Kurla City Kurla. Since I head the hospital, a doctor has to know
A lot of, okay.
a lot of finance, which I am.
Okay. Fair enough, sir. Farid, sir.
Ravi Pilani from Reliance Industries, working as a marketing manager. I would like to know the implications of finance. How finance is important for marketing people.
Okay.
Rajesh Modi. I'm working with Reliance Industries Limited for Young Marketing Division. I would like to understand the number game when we hear that this company has or this balance sheet has been played and the digits are manipulated. So how actually happens? That I would like.
You're from Reliance, no, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't say anything. I only asked. Okay. Okay, sir. Okay. Fair enough.
It's universal for all.
So I didn't say anything.
Any balance sheet can be presented in any way. How that happens?
Definitely, sir. I'll talk about shenanigans. Pleasure. Sudhir, sir.
Sudhir Kamath from Finance. I head the finance department there. I want to look at various type of presentations that we can do for the balance sheet.
Fine.
Various
Fine.
type of funding and
You're looking for funding options. Yeah, sure.
I'm Jibo James from the Times of India. I'm from the production department. So just want to get a grip on what finance means to a pure non-finance.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm Pankaj Patel. I myself is an entrepreneur, and I find a lot of difficulty in getting finance loan from the bank. So
How do you present it? Bank. Okay.
What are the other options that we have?
Fine.
Good morning.
Hi.
I'm more and more design engineering and project management in terms of we're a contracting company. So in terms of how, in terms of project management, how the cash flow affects everything. And a lot of our projects get delayed because of cash flow. So in terms of understanding how to have better financial planning and control, in terms of to make sure smooth operations, in terms of how office quarterly is something like that.
Okay. Fine.
Good morning. My name is Zain Banerjee. I'm from Tide Water manufacturer of Bidong. I would like to understand the budgeting part. I'm reading regional sales, budgeting part, and of course channel finance.
You were looking for something in channel.
Channel part.
Sure.
Model and role manager. I'm a senior manager at DBS Bank. And we just want to learn more about the bank. Yeah.
Financial statements. Yeah.
I am Namita Maheshwari. I am also from ABS Bank, and I would like to have more knowledge on the credit aspects when we give loans and all the credit monitoring.
What do you look at?
Huh?
What do you look at?
Yeah, what do you look at in credit when you give loans or whatever? So let's say even the foreign ECBs and all that, how it affects the finance of the bank.
Sure. So we have got somebody who says how to present and somebody who says how to analyze. Okay. Definitely.
Pankaj is from Mangal, India. Basically, I deal with project engineering. So we deal with huge capex requirements of different new projects. So basically, we are eyeing to know how the IRR or payback of a project is calculated and what are various factors. Those can hamper the project financial over the period of its life.
Okay. Okay. So you're looking at basically budgeting again. Okay, sure. Hi.
My name is Anuj Sharma. I work for Mahindra on the same department for projects, basically into capital budgeting itself. So we are here just because to know the basically finance as an overall picture and how does it role play, key role play in the projects.
Sure.
Hi, Lakshman from we are UK-based group dealing manufacturing various. In my group, we deal with oil and gas equipment. We sell across India, we market across India. Two things I like to understand is one, what is the pound implication on the sales? Customers are asking us, your rupee is appreciated, you should give more discount. So whereas UK people are saying that recession is there, so we cannot offer more discount. So unlike between these two, when we quote in pounds or dollars, when the rupee appreciates, the cost of the product for them goes up. So they accept a much bigger discount. I like to know one thing. The second thing, what is the maximum cost of percentage of cost in your order? For example, we get 10 X dollar, X pounds, X dollars, X rupees. What can be the maximum cost of sales cost in an industrial selling, industrial marketing? We are talking about pure customer, direct customer selling, no middle or no agent involved. What is the maximum, let's say 10% of the order value or 5% of the order value in terms of total cost?
Sure, sure.
Hi, I'm Mahadev Duri. I'm working for Alma India. I'm a sales manager for medical equipment division, and I want to understand various financial statements, balance sheets, and of course whatever these people have said, I would like to discuss.
Hello, I'm Nitul Sanghvi, and I'm sales manager from Halma. Again, like what he said, I've rephrased it. I'm saying that we have the equipments turning up from UK and Netherlands. That's from Europe. And there is a lot of implication due to the forex. How does the global market influence India due to this forex? Because it's again related to finance. Like if you can emphasize on that. Secondly, like we talk about expanding the business. So when we talk about expanding the business in the finance part, if we see there is a part which has been dedicated out for the manpower. How much it should be, which is the optimum rate invest or dedicated for the manpower, if at all the business is to be enhanced.
Sure.
If you can highlight on that, would be appreciated.
Sure.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Rosa.
Yeah.
I'm working with SBI Capital Markets. Actually, I want to know the financials thoroughly, how to analyze it, how to understand the balance sheet, how to understand the other part of the financials.
Sure. Okay, so let's get started. The way I've structured it, dear colleagues, is I'll start with financial statements. Then we look at analyzing that. And then we'll try and build in the budgeting part. I'll answer queries, right, across the line. Some are slightly more customized, so definitely it'll be a pleasure answering it throughout the day. I'll also leave you with my email ID. So in case there's something beyond today also you would like me to talk about or cover, right, it'll be a pleasure addressing it. Having said that, just two requirements from the course from my side, right? One, in case I say something and you're not understanding or you're not getting it, I have not communicated. So please make me repeat because I'm very, very clear. Finance is very, very simple and it's very, very logical. And I'll convince you all. Just give me half an hour and you'll get convinced and we'll do that throughout the day. And second, let's interact. And let's just interact and try and figure out. So we're looking at financial statements. So whether you're working for SBI Caps as my dear colleague there or you're working for a marketing team, you're heading the marketing team, we start with financial statements. So which are these financial statements and what do they actually indicate? So let's start by looking at that. And then let's look at each of this in detail and how to present and how to analyze and things like that. So let me start with Yashwantji. And I just need a start, so I'll definitely go to my colleague there. So why does any firm exist? To earn money. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Right? To make profits. So you have the first statement in finance, which is known as, thank you, profit and loss statement, which indicates profitability. Why do you need a profit and loss statement? You need a profit and loss statement because you need to understand whether the business is profitable or no, right? Right? Thank you. right? I'm meeting my colleague after a long time. I just want to see how his firm is doing. Or you, sir, I want to know how your firm is doing. All I need to do is, I'll call for your profit and loss statement. I'll just have a look at it and say, yeah, Mr. Rajiv's hospital is making money. This looks like a good investment for us. We need to analyze this further, but mota moti, prima facie, it is making money. So you look at this statement and you understand profitability. Now the question that will come into mind is, and this is where the analysis starts. So you have three statements. I'll not do any slideshow. I'll get the answers out from you all, because I personally believe finance is logic. And let me again start by saying I'm an engineer, right, who spent 20 years in finance now, right? Before I go to the second statement, why is it called profit and loss statement? Why is it called profit and loss statement? Now you'll have to start thinking, right? Why is it? So at the end of the day, either you make a profit or you make a loss. Thank you, sir. Right? Right. Thank you, Sudhir, sir. Right. Either you make a profit or you make a loss. So it should be called profit or loss statement, no, technically. Why is it called profit and loss statement? Sudhir, you like to take a call? Take your time, sir. Anybody? Why is it?
Because a company can make a profit or loss.
So then it
can be a profit or it can be a loss.
Correct. So English, then you are answering the way I want you to say. So Pankaj sir, either it should be called profit or loss, no? You're right. Either profit or loss. So why is it called profit? There's a reason. There's a lot of, and today is not only finance, today is finance plus strategy. That's the way I conduct this workshop. Okay, so I got one response which again came back, said, this looks like this is profit or loss. No, there's a reason why it is profit and loss. Sir, your name, I'm sorry. Venkat, yeah.
It's a statement for others to see, because if anybody wants to go to a profit and loss of a company, one statement, without going to the depth of it, this will come from the face of it, whether it's a good company or a bad company.
Okay, so by going through it, you will come to know whether it's a good company or a bad company. Agreed. I think I've not communicated. My question is, why is it called profit and loss statement? Okay, I agree with what Mr. Venkat said. Yeah, you can look at it and see whether a company is doing well or no. Agreed. Why profit? Yeah, Mr. Nitul?
It shows what is the areas of profit and where the losses are incurred. It balances with both the information. So a person can analyze which are the areas of profit and where the losses are incurred.
You're coming very close to answer.
It
okay.
balances both.
No, don't say it balances.
In terms of information, let me say.
Okay.
Not in terms of numerical values.
Okay.
In terms of information.
Okay, okay. Ma'am, you're saying something.
Yeah, sometimes you get profit before tax and after that you...
Suddenly because you pay tax, you make a loss. No, at least you're saying something good, right? So before you pay tax, you're making money. Suddenly you pay tax and it makes a loss. So don't pay tax. Right? Okay. Right, good. At least, no, I've met ma'am earlier also.
Because it talks about both income as well as expense.
So one start. The answers are coming from you. I'll take charge with you. I'll keep interacting. This is just the beginning. So this I'll come to in 2 minutes. Thank you. First statement. It's coming from you all. See, why is it called profit and loss statement? Because it's a statement which reflects income and expense. Okay. What I'll do is I'll put it right there. Right. I'll put the jargons right there, which you can review it at your comfort. Profit and loss statement indicates income and expenditure. Income and expenditure. Superb. Right? Yes. What else? In fact, I got a good answer from Mr. Mitul. One second, just one second. Yeah, thank you. सुनिए, 2-3 markers लगेंगे, पर वो board थोड़ा नीचे आ रहा है. That board is slightly coming down, and just get me 2-3 markers, preferably black and green, huh? Yeah, there was one more correct. Sudhir sir?
There are also brought forward losses.
Okay. You could have losses for the last year, right? That's why I wanted to start with you, right? Which can be pulled in here. Okay, wonderful. I'll go for one last opinion.
You can get a ratio, I mean.
You can have ratios. Okay, you can have ratios.
You have debts. Initially, you would show a profit as for a day for your debts, and ultimately it would land you in loss. So this
okay.
is why it is said profit and loss. Profit for this year, but debts for the previous year has caused you to land up with the loss.
Okay, okay.
Assets, shows assets also.
No senior, not at all, right? A profit, no, but good. Please keep interacting, right? Doesn't matter at all. Profit and, but good, very good point to start with. Profit and loss statement covers operating expenditure. Let's get this straight and clear. please keep interacting. Right? If necessary, I'll correct. If necessary, right? It doesn't matter who, right? But you're all dear colleagues here, right? Profit and loss account shows operating expenditure. Humble request, colleagues. You may be in whichever function domain. I have an operations expert here. I have a colleague who's working for an investment bank. Right? I have a couple of bankers here, sales heads here. Whenever somebody like me, Anil Menon, Mr. Sudhir there, gives you a profit and loss statement, a CFO gives you a profit and loss statement, what I want these young colleagues to do is to please note why is it called profit and loss statement, because first understand this. There are some products which will give us profits. There are some products which may give us losses. So first thing that I want you all to do is whenever anybody, whether it's a hospital, whether it is an investment bank, first thing that you should do is when somebody gives you a profit and loss statement, Venkat sir, right, please note you should ask for what is known as segmental reporting. I'll put all the jargons here. This is a typical requirement because many of you all will see we use jargons. So all the jargons, I'll put it on the flip chart. My explanation will continue there. What is segmental reporting? Let me simplify that. A segmental reporting, right, Mr. Rajiv, rather Dr. Rajiv, is very, very simple breakup. It's simple breakup. So what you would sit back and say is, excuse me, Mr. Menon, oh, you have made profits, very good. Right? As a CFO, you have presented the profit and loss statement, you have made profits. Can I have the breakup? The breakup can be product-wise. The breakup can be region-wise. The breakup can be time-wise. You take a call. So some of you all will sit back and say, right, and that's the way they do it in Reliance, incidentally. I have some colleagues who work for Reliance. So that's the way it's done in SBI Caps, right? You would possibly go division-wise. And then you will try and figure out and say, excuse me, this product is giving us, and let me give you a statistic now. If you realize that 70% of profits, typically, I'm not talking about your firm, you will give me an idea about your firm, 70% of profits, sir, typically come from about 20%, right, of products. Now the management will start taking a call, right? I'm not talking about your firm, I'm just giving you a generic study. The management will take a call, oh, the balanced products, how do we enhance profitability? Should we continue this? Should we put some efforts in that? But that is a strategic decision that you will start taking only after you do what is known as, right there, segmental analysis. So movement and first rule, right? Why profit and loss? It indicates profitability. Request to the senior audience here is, whenever somebody presents a profit and loss statement, please do a segmental analysis. For example, my case study on this is Wipro. If you look at Wipro, Wipro is into, right, vanaspatis, chemicals, soaps, but if you analyze it, you realize that if you look at it segmentally, see, if you look at the consolidated profit and loss statement, you will not get this analysis. But if you start looking at the breakup, you will realize their main income is coming from IT division. And that's where the analysis, what a dear colleague was saying, right, Mr. Lakshman was trying to say, or Mr. Nitul was trying to indicate, becomes important. So if it is IT division, which part of the world are they getting this business from? Oh my God, the major part of their business is coming from Europe. Oh, we have got a European crisis coming up. Is this going to be good or bad for Wipro? And then the different strategies that fall into place, which I don't need to tell you seniors. The fact is, the entire analysis starts by looking at segmental reporting. The second statement, we have just on the introduction, I'll show you what is EBITDA, EBIT. It's all very simple. I want to just show you why 3 financial statements. The second statement, but before I go to the second statement, I'll give you a business situation and we'll keep interacting. So I'll give you a very simple business situation. Let's say I'm picking up material from ma'am there, Hema ma'am there at 100 rupees. 10 rupees is my processing. So this is 10 rupees processing. I'm selling it to Rajiv sir at 130. So please watch the numbers, okay. and no manipulation, right? At this stage at least, okay, right? I'll tell you, right? It was a good call, I'll tell you. In fact, I was very happy to see what to analyze, what to present, right? Wonderful questions. 100, 10, 130, okay? Pankaj ji, am I profitable? Yes. By how much? Clear, all of you all, right? 100, 10, 130, profitable by 20. Okay, so that does this profitability part, and thank you, right, for the spontaneous response. The twist in this, Rosa ma'am will take this. The twist in this is 100 rupees, did I go fast? I'm sorry. 100, 10 rupees processing, so cost is 110, sold to sir at 130, 20 rupees profit, okay? The twist in the tail, it's all simple, it's logic. The twist in the tail, bankers, you will have to watch for this, right? The twist in the tail, and ma'am, you will take this, is my colleague here is very clear. She says she'll give me material at 100 rupees. Ma'am is very clear. I'll give you material at 100 rupees, provided you pay me a cash payment. Then you lift the material. I go to her saying, ma'am, give me some credit at least 1 month, 45 days. She says, nothing doing. You pay me cash, you lift the material. I said, okay, now that's the way business is, it's okay. So I have to pay cash there. At the same time, Rajiv sir here, who is my customer, is very clear. He says, I'll pay you 130, but I'll pay you after 3 months. I'll pay you after 3 months. Am I profitable? That aspect is gone. That aspect of business is closed. Am I profitable? Definitely. That's gone. Is there anything that you can analyze, and I'm sure all of you can you visualize where I could get into a problem here? 100 to be paid upfront, 130 that I'll receive after 3 months. Where I could get into a problem here? Again, let me start the interaction. Yeah. 20 rupees is not the net profit. Okay.
Because you may incur a cost of interest.
Okay, so you're assuming that I'll borrow.
Anyway, if you don't borrow, then if you keep money in your bank idly,
Huh.
you are losing money.
So opportunity cost. So net 20 is not my net profit. Okay, fantastic. Ma'am, you are saying something. Same thing. Okay, right.
I need to borrow 100 rupees at much lower interest rate.
Okay.
That, it covers that 3 months period.
And at whatever interest that I'm paying, 20 minus interest will be my net profit. Okay, fantastic. Okay, you're all making very good assumptions. You're doing very well.
What happens if it doesn't pay up 3 months?
Oh, so that's a credit risk. Right. There is another angle here. Okay. Credit risk, sir, no problem. Rajiv sir, Kohinoor, right? So this group will not, right? So there's no credit risk there. That's a good aspect of business, by the way. Jokes apart, today that's the biggest worry. Credit risk. No, right? Jokes apart, Mr. Lakshman had a very good point. It's known as credit risk. Right?
In our angle, it doesn't mean they are not going to pay. It's a simple equipment supply is not a problem. If it involves commissioning, other things, you are not going to get after 90 days.
It is not intentional, but it happens.
It happens.
Okay.
Intentional.
Okay.
Now other things,
Okay.
cash flow could be another problem.
Thank you, sir. See, you all are answering. This is finance.
Your funds are stuck up for 3 months.
Thank you, sir. The second statement in finance is known as cash flow statement. Can you see the response coming from you all? Right? The second, this is finance. The second statement in finance is known as cash flow statement. It indicates liquidity. That's it. The second statement in finance is known as the cash flow statement. It indicates liquidity. As simple as that. Yes, there are some jargons which you should note, non-finance colleagues. The jargons that we finance colleagues use, and you should be aware of that. Humble request. Thank you for all your responses. Now, my humble addition, the jargon that we use is, yes, working capital. Mr. Menon, you're profitable by 20, but you're going to get into a problem, right? The problem that you're going to face is, where is your working capital? And I want to make two statements for today's environment. Today, this environment is getting slightly tougher. India is doing much better, but as my respected colleague said, world outside, Euro especially, is getting into a severe problem, okay, which can have a ripple effect in India. We are much better off, but right? Are we insulated? The answer is no. We are definitely not insulated. please note two lines, right, which I would like to say, and this comes from my experience in this field. 80% of sickness, especially in the mid-corporate segment, SME segment, 80% of sickness is not because of profitability. It's because of liquidity. Young guys come in, leave their job, right? Young guys, right, come in, leave their job, start their business, right? Very good point. Start the sales, and then there's a huge credit risk. End of the matter. Sometimes that was a very good point. Sometimes what happens is payments start getting delayed. In our country, we have a very, very nice case where certain corporates, when they say they'll pay you after 90 days, that means you can ask for your money after 90 days. When they'll pay you is their call, right? Excuse me, that's how, right? If you see, I feel very bad saying this. If you have such tough conditions, you colleagues will never get affected. It's always the SME sector which will get wiped out because you will just throttle the payments. No, and I get slightly emotional here because, right, I'm connected with FMB, Family Managed Business Group of SP Jain, and these kids, the second generation, they come and say, sir, we have done some good sales. January mein sales kiya, right? May tak paisa nahi aaya, sir. And now what he says is, now this becomes slightly emotional. He says, the guy on the other side is telling this SME, you send the second consignment, then we'll pay you for the first consignment. So you are now in a loop. Please watch out. Cash is king. The esteemed colleagues who are from the banks, right, and the colleagues who are looking at presenting statements, and the colleagues who are looking at analyzing statements, please start your analysis from the cash flow statement. And as we proceed during the day, and I got a feel of this audience, it's a very good audience, you will realize I'll again come back and say, there are certain things in cash flow, moment you see something wrong there, it will raise a red flag, we'll come to it. The second aspect of the business is liquidity. What is that statement? Thank you again, which indicates, Mr. Banerjee, right, which indicates liquidity is what is known as cash flow statement. The third statement is balance sheet. I'm not even asking you all because I'm sure this audience will respond. What does the balance sheet indicate? Questions?
Yeah.
One sec, ma'am. Perfect. Yeah.
What would be the content of cash flow?
We will. No. Not only the content, Nitulji, we'll look at each of this in detail.
Okay.
It's just the introduction. I will do EBITDA, others, right? Definitely.
I just wanted to respond about this cash flow.
Huh.
Just want to come again that you asked this simple question about this 20 rupees profit or something. After 3 months he has to pay. So then what was the answer? And then subsequently what is basically cash flow?
The answer is, I'm going to face what is known as, sorry if I've gone fast, I'm going to face what is known as liquidity problems. Liquidity means not having money to run the business.
No, that's what I'm saying. See, what I'm saying is, you have bought some item of 100 rupees and processing of 10 rupees you're saying. First of all, processing, where you are getting the processing, the money.
That is what is liquidity.
Yeah, correct. So the first thing you are, that means your working capital, that means you have some sort of cash flow where you have done your processing of 10 rupees, correct? So 110 is that. Now, when you are selling this item to another customer by making a margin of 20 rupees, this total 130, you will get the cash flow in after 3 months. That's what you're saying, na? So where is the basically liquidity comes into picture?
Liquidity, my friend, right, Anujji, it only means that you need some capital to start your own business, which is known as working capital. And what is indicated, what indicates working capital or liquidity position of a company, dear friend, is a statement which is known as a cash flow statement. So there are 3 dimensions to business. One dimension to business is profitability. Second dimension to business is liquidity. And there is a third dimension which I'll discuss. So each of these, yeah.
Suppose there is a working capital of 500 rupees. There are 5 customers. So what do you do for next 3 months? Just wait for the cash to come. 3 months we don't do it.
Perfect. Thank you. Right. So today's condition, right? No, maybe I went fast. I'm sorry, Anuj. Today's condition, what we are discussing, and immediately Sudhirji and others were nodding, is liquidity becomes a very important condition, right? So absolutely. The jargon, right? The jargon for liquidity is working capital. And again, let me explain this jargon. as ma'am very correctly said, capital needed for day-to-day working. That is why it is known as working capital. Got the scenario now? I'll give you the breakup. Definitely I'll give the breakup, right? We just done the introduction and the answers will come. What does a balance sheet indicate? It indicates liabilities and assets. Okay, this came from ma'am, by the way. Sorry, I didn't acknowledge because I got diverted. Okay, so it's liabilities and assets. What does it indicate? What does it indicate? I'm again looking at you. Pardon? What is worth of it? You're doing well, yeah? It indicates valuation. Okay. Rohanji, incidentally, valuation is a combination of all the three. Right? So, but you said worth, and I smiled for that. That's a very good answer. It indicates worth of a company. Can we have, no, I think I'm pushing you, right? It indicates, okay, so let me give you a situation first. And I'm going to take 10 minutes off this topic now. I'm going to take 10 minutes off this topic because there have been requirements. The requirements is current macroeconomic conditions, what is happening around us. Then after 10 minutes, we'll link it to balance sheet, okay? So let me satisfy some dear friends who in the introduction said current macroeconomic environment. So my first question is, why is United States so important in all our discussions? Right? If you sit in conferences, if you want to launch a new product, let's say sir wants to start a chain of hospital, right? So you want to launch a product, we'll go across and compare ourselves with United States and say, see, in US, this is the consumption. In India, right, the consumption is so there's a lot of potential. You start looking at stock markets, right? You will start looking at what's happening at, right, US, yeah? What's happening at New York Stock Exchange? Why is US so important in all our discussions? That what is so paranoid about that? And I'll give you some jargons. Can I have an interaction with you? You've not interacted with you, colleague. Not you, Rash. This friend from DBS. Why is US important? Your name?
Namita.
Yeah, Namita.
US is because they are the, I mean,
They are the boss.
They provide huge loans to India, $40 loans and all this.
They are the most consuming animals in the world.
They are most, so you're very blunt, consuming animals in the world. Okay, right.
People, finance industry or any industry, keep them in benchmark that this should be the consumption across the world. And accordingly, what other countries are consuming, they are right.
Very, very less, so we should consume like US. Okay, right, good. One sec. I want to appreciate this gentleman. He's right. US is very wonderful analysis, very nicely put. I'll not use your words though, right? Okay. US has got a very high consumption level, right? And also one very, very disturbing part is it's for many of the Americans. So these are debt is a part of income. So when they take loans, it becomes a part of income. So how to repay, right, is a question that comes up later.
They spend $2 while they are earning only $1.
Okay, so high consumption. Anuj, you were saying something.
Yeah, I was just saying simply that dollar is basically the driving economy across the world.
Thank you.
This is basically the, you can say, the currency wherein it drives all the others.
Lovely. Thank you for the start, Namita ji. Thank you, Anuj ji. Thank you, sir. Something more.
Ratio population.
Yeah, that's their strength, right? Population not very high, but still able to get into developed status.
Why than in India, with much more bigger population.
Lovely.
Assets.
I'll add something to this.
It's a democratic country.
Two things that, right. Thank you.
There is no inflation.
Right. No, right. There is inflation there, right?
But that is basically stagnant. It's basically a developed country, so inflation is there, but
It's stagnant. All managers, please note, Rohanji, fantastic. Please note one term, very important term, and I'll give you some stats. Okay, thank you for all your answers. Okay, on US, two things I would not like to talk about because I'm incompetent to talk about that, politics and religion. Okay, I'm incompetent, so that I'll never encourage in a public forum to speak. Right, we'll talk finance and we'll keep it to jargons. Thank you for your points. Remember one term which came from a dear friend here. Again, I repeat, it's a lovely audience. Please note, the term is GDP. For all those of you all who wanted a small glimpse of the macroeconomic environment, let me explain this and then link it to balance sheet. I'm come out to customizer because in the introduction, some colleagues were very clear. What's the current environment? How do you link the euro and all that, right? Dear colleagues, GDP stands for gross domestic product. I'll simplify it now. I'll take charge and I'll simplify it. It's all very simple. Please understand, it's all very simple, right? Rosa ma'am, GDP is the value of goods and services produced by a country. It's as simple as that. So what is the value of goods and services produced by a country is GDP. Now I'll give you some stats just to prove a point, Venkat sir. Right? So this, please note, the point is to prove why US is important in our discussion. Total world GDP. Now this, I'll like to look at you when I say this, right?
What do you mean by value?
Value.
How do you evaluate value?
This, right? The cost of production.
No, this will cost me 1 rupee in India, whereas it will cost me
No. So we will look at very nice question, Rajiv sir. We will, when you're looking at India, we look in terms of rupees, and then we'll convert it into dollars, right? So please note, very nice question, sir. Very nice question. So value in that particular country. So now one sec, I'm not finished, and I'll get an expression from you all. Total world GDP is $60 trillion. $60 trillion. Don't write till I get that expression on your face. Why is US important? US alone as a country has a GDP of $15 trillion. 1/4 of world economy comes from this country. Can I rub it in? Second is China with 5 trillion. Can you see the gap between the first and the second? Third is Japan with 4.5 trillion. And for all of us Indians who are wondering where India is, we are doing very well. We are at 1.7 trillion. So next time you please note, why is US important? Please add, wonderful discussion, dollar as a currency, they give a lot of loans. Look at the discussion, right? Consumption economy. Also please note, it's one of the largest GDP driven economy. In fact, if you look at the gap, it contributes to 1/4 of the world economy, one. If you look at the gap between the first and the second, it's 3 times, sir. Yeah. Now the point that you would say is, and somebody like me will make that statement, India, China will replace US. Now look at your math. India is 1.7, Rajiv sir. For it, sir, China is 5, right? 5 plus 1.7 is 6.7. US is 15. The next thing that you should ask, moment I make this comment is, right? By when, Mr. Menon? Right? Thank you very much. That's where we keep saying there is another factor which is known as GDP growth rate. Whenever you open the papers, right? One sec, sir. One sec. It'll be a pleasure. Right? When you open the papers, you would see they say 7%, 8%. What is this? It's nothing but, right? It is nothing but GDP growth rate. It'd be a pleasure to take queries, but before that, I just want to ensure that I have communicated. Please note, dear friends, when I say 10%, that means India currently is 1.7 trillion. If it grows by 10%, which is good this year, by next year it will add another 0.17 trillion. So next year will be 1.7 plus 0.17, that's 1.87. But please be noted, a United States growing by 5%, thank you, right, you are spontaneous, absolutely spontaneous, right, in absolute terms is going to be much more than 10%. So what you should ask whenever there is an analysis is, right, whenever there is analysis, you should ask what is the base. You are saying 10%, sir, very good. 10% of what? Oh, 1.7. You are saying 5%. Oh, that 5% is smaller. But 5% of what? Oh, 15 trillion. This effect, whether you're doing economics or you're doing finance, is what is known as base effect. What is your base of your calculation? Having said this, for the dear colleagues who wanted to link it to euro, wonderful introduction. If you look at the GDP, right, what 17 European countries have done is, 17 European countries have done is, they have come together and formed what is known as Eurozone. So now let me answer the question that some dear colleagues wanted. What is happening in this pound, euro and all that? See, what is Eurozone? Right, let me give you the context. The context here is, because US was such a dominant player, Rajesh, the European nations said, they said, let's compete with this guy. So 17 of them actually, right, 17 of them have come together and said, we'll have a common currency, euro. And this currency will be a rival to the dollar, so that we can start rivaling the dollar, Sushilji. Now, moment this has happened, this is very good. It's a very good thing. Today, what is happening is, unfortunately, right, this year, by this year or maybe by next year, this year, according to me, the play will be over. Right? Today, what's happening is that Eurozone is in trouble. Things are slightly bad, my dear friends. Right? And if Eurozone is in trouble, right, we are all worried because, right, as a region, this Eurozone has a combined GDP of about 9 trillion. So we are all worried, saying that, oh, if something happens to Eurozone, and I'm so happy in the introduction itself, some of you all said, oh, we need to understand that in today's workshop. You're absolutely right. If something goes wrong there, you could have a problem. In India also, because our exporters who are exporting there could get hit. Or some joint venture partner from there who was about to invest in our country would now say, wait here, I've got problems in my country. And you know what is the problem? Earlier we had something known as, right, Ashwati, we had something known as, right, individual defaults. Anil Menon defaulting. I have taken a loan, I have defaulted. Then we had what is known as corporate defaults. Lehman Brothers was a corporate default. Today what we are discussing in all the management circles is country default. Please note, we call this as sovereign defaults. In fact, we are living in such difficult times. Why we are living in such difficult times is we are anticipating what is known as sovereign default. Country default is very good answer, but since you all wanted jargons, yeah, I'll write it down, sure. The jargon is sovereign defaults. And what is the sovereign default that is being expected now? Hima ma'am, the sovereign default that is being expected now is, yes, absolutely, is from this region. I'll take charge. Right, Nitulji? P stands for Portugal, sir. I stands for, no. I stands for, right, Ireland. This is European region. We are nowhere connected. Right, I stands for Ireland. Right, P for Portugal, Rajivji. Portugal. I stands for Ireland. The third I stands for Italy. G stands for Greece. And yes, absolutely. S stands for Spain. P stands for Portugal, and I'll try and answer this question that a dear colleague posted, and then I won't take further questions. I'll come to you in a minute, right? Portugal has already defaulted. You know what's a default? A default means not able to repay back the loan as per the original terms. So when I had taken the loan, I had promised Sudhir sir that I'll repay back today. Today I'm going to him and saying, sir, sorry, I can't pay you. I need some time. Right, restructuring. The key word to use for restructuring, I'll leave that there. I'll use this for 2 minutes, right? The key word for using for restructuring is, right, since you said restructuring, I want to give you 2 more words there also. Wonderful, right? Restructuring is a good word. In terms of restructuring, and since there are colleagues from SBI Caps, the term is moratorium. I'll give you jargons, right? This is a very evolved audience and you deserve the best. Moratorium basically is a freeze on payments. Moratorium is a freeze on payments. So what I'm telling Sudhir sir is, sir, I'm supposed to pay you today. I'm sorry, I need another 6 months time. Now that's a default. That's a default. Well, I was supposed to pay sir today. I'm now going to him and saying, excuse me, I need some time. Moratorium is a, please note, unplanned, the better way of putting it is, unplanned moratorium is a default. Planned moratorium is not a default. Right? Let me explain, Rohanji. Let me explain, dear friend Rohan. Let me explain. For all, let me explain this to you. If you take an educational loan, you already tell the banker, excuse me, I have taken this loan, 2 years I am going to study. 1 year I'll take to get a job. So 2 plus 1, 3 years, I will not pay you anything. I need a moratorium for 3 years. And the loan is given to you saying that 3 years moratorium. Then it is not a default. It is a planned moratorium. No, on the other side, Rohan, thank you for the question, dear friend. Right? On the other side, when the time of repayment has come in, I'm going to him and saying I need a moratorium. That becomes a default. For the esteemed colleague, a real pleasure to have my colleague there. When you all are financing, and SBI Caps is doing a fine job in infra financing, right? When you all are doing, when we finance, I keep saying we because that's a place I have worked to, right? When we finance for bridges, when we finance for ports, and that's why I liked your question, we know that there needs to be a moratorium for 3 years because a bridge cannot be built in 3 months. So the bankers say, okay, 3 years to build, this is known as gestation period. In project finance, we call it as gestation period. This is for the dear colleague, right? Pankaj was talking, right, who was about project finance, right? If you look at the gestation period, you can have a planned moratorium. A corporate default is where you have an unplanned moratorium. And one more thing, when you say restructuring, restructuring comes from two sides. One is known as moratorium. Second thing, Banerjee sir, is known as haircut. What is an haircut? Right, right. And haircut basically means, Yashwant sir, I owe you 11 million. I'm sorry, I can't pay you 11 million. I'll pay you only 8 million. Haircut means reduction. Haircut, a corporate restructuring proposal. Reliance colleagues are way beyond all this. The current case is Kingfisher. Kingfisher has come and asked for a restructuring. What is the restructuring that he has asked? He has asked for, right, a haircut. He says, I owe you some money. I need a haircut. You'll have to reduce the principal. And that also I can't pay you immediately. I'll pay you over a period of time. Things are very, very difficult in the airline industry. This is how they are putting it, right? I'm explaining Malia's point of view. Things are very difficult in the airline industry. I need these two. Both of this put together, when you do it for a corporate, we call it as a CDR. This is for the dear colleague, corporate debt restructuring. When you do it for a country, and we will again come back to the country now, right? Then it is known as SDR, nothing difficult. Sovereign debt restructuring. Corporate. C stands for corporate, Sushilji. So when a corporate asks for debt restructuring, you will say CDR. Kingfisher, CDR. Spain, right, SDR, right? Sovereign debt rate. I hope, right, I'm simplifying things. Thank you for the smile. Please note, I'll give you a key today. When we, one sec, right? When we use finance jargons, CFOs, finance colleagues, so please look at the English behind the jargon. And you will get the answer. Look at the English here. Sovereign debt restructuring. Right? Before I take questions, which I will, it's always a pleasure. I want you all to finish this discussion now. And I hope I have communicated. If I have communicated, you will finish the discussion. Portugal has defaulted. Ireland has already defaulted. Some मांग लिया उन्होंने. Greece has already defaulted. We are hoping and praying that Italy and Spain don't default. Because if Italy and Spain defaults, there will be blood on the streets. Then things will get very, very bad, globally. My question is, and whom do I address it to? I'll address it to dear Sushil, right? So it doesn't matter, no, Italy also is a country, Portugal also is a country. Why is my colleague here, right? Or why am I saying this, that if Italy defaults, there will be blood on the streets? Anyway, they are countries, no? So this is a check on whether I have communicated. So just check, right? And I get a feeling you're on the answer, right? We are talking of countries. So how do you look at the importance of countries? Please start.
I believe you talked about the GDP and the playing of Europe, and compared to Portugal, Ireland, and Italy and Spain contributes much more.
That's your answer. Thank you, sir. It's the top 10 economies of the world. And if you have a top 10 economy of the world coming and asking for restructuring, we have got a serious problem. A Dubai crisis, bad, especially for Malayalis, right? Right? But ठीक है यार, world economy छोटा है क्या है? Doesn't matter. Greece, bad. Italy, now not acceptable. Now the question starts. My God, we're looking at a bigger GDP here. What is going to happen? The point is, lovely sir, thank you again. The point that you need to understand is what is happening today about rupee dollar. One last line. I'll talk about this in greater detail as we proceed, but for the dear colleague, what is the environment around us? I wanted to invest 10 minutes, thanks to your question. It's actually not only rupee depreciating. Today in this markets, whenever there is fear, people get scared, some default, sovereign default. You know what people do? They end up buying dollars. So today what is happening around us is not only rupee weakness, suddenly people are getting scared. And when people get scared, investors, globally, there are two asset classes they always buy. Please remember this, sir. Whenever there is crisis, there are two asset classes people invariably end up buying. I'm through with my discussion. I'd like to start my questions. But, right, thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. And whenever there is crisis, and that's what you've been seeing, right? These are the two safe assets. Thank you again, right? Gold and dollars.
No, but the rupee is the only, I think, have more casualty.
We will
in terms
talk.
of dollar against all world economies,
Absolutely.
world currencies. Then why only?
We will talk. We will talk. We'll talk. As I said, I just wanted to introduce this topic. We'll talk. Okay. Why and what is the inflation and current account deficit, right? But
only related to Indian rupee. INR is only depreciating in terms of percentage highest amongst all other currencies.
we'll talk. We'll talk. Definitely, sir. It's a the rupee depreciation is about 20% as compared to the others, which are hardly about 8, 9. What is the reason? We'll figure out. But at this point, I want to tell you, right, the run is towards gold and dollars. Thank you. And why dollars? Don't try and answer this logically. I've tried to answer this logically a long time back. Why people keep buying dollars? I still have no answer to this. Don't ask me. I'm telling you now. Right? Subprime crisis, US. You know what happened to dollar? Dollar strengthened. US में crisis हुआ and people went and purchased dollar. US lost its rating. You know there's a rating, colleagues? AAA rating. Right? US lost it. Huh? Next thing I see is dollar is strengthening. And then you say, finance is logic. This is not finance. This is markets. Markets is logic plus perception. And I'll tell you, there is one factor which applies for dollar. And I will come to rupee movement definitely. I'll talk about that as I proceed towards the end of the day. Right? Please note, for dollar, there is one factor which always plays, colleagues. And don't apply your normal laws of economics here. Right? That factor is known as TINA factor. This has got nothing to do with the Ambanis. Okay, and TINA factor stands for there is no alternative. Right? Where would you go across? Dollar ne to kya? Euro? Now the question is, euro is already a disintegrating currency. Look at the way Sushil ji answered. He's looking at the euro crumbling. तो कहाँ करोगे आप? ठीक है, these are two assets. यहाँ पे, right? One reason is, and you will see this fear in the markets for some more time. My personal prognosis is, this year you will see whether there'll be, I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. I personally see the euro will not stand as a 17 nations. I don't see this. You will see that my prognosis, and I could go wrong, right? You could see that they'll crumble, right? And slowly the weaker countries will be pushed out and the others will remain. I'd not like to get into a discussion on that, right, for want of time. But in case you want to read my findings, right, you could just visit my website. I put it all there, my writings, my video lectures. This is the website, www.simplifiedfinance.net. I'm not getting into a discussion on euro because this is not the forum, right? We are more on a finance, right? www.simplifiedfinance.net. Can I request this audience, and since it's a wonderful audience, you should find time, and I request you all, I implore you all to find time to watch. There are two things. One is an article section, and there is a video section. For those of you all who are getting just initialized into finance, I don't think there are any colleagues there. They should first please read the article on the subprime crisis. This was the worst crisis that has hit the world. And then go on to watch the video, okay, where it's a lecture video which I have presented on the subprime crisis, okay, what happened in US and how, right, it is coming across and hitting the euro and others, right. Please find time and either directly watch the video. If you feel you want to get some backup, spend 10 minutes reading the article and then come to the video. Please understand, the fact that remains is, right, this is what is your macroeconomic condition. You're having a larger GDP countries now coming on the verge of sovereign default. Having said this, now that was the 10 minutes on macroeconomics. I want to link it to balance sheet. Okay, so right. Okay, before I proceed, I think since some of you have been very patient, it will be a pleasure taking questions.
With respect to CDR, as mentioned earlier, if a company like say Kingfisher or any other company goes to CDR, does it necessarily count as an NPA?
Nice question. In case the CDR is approved, okay, first let us, for the audience, let's explain what is NPA. Nice question. NPA stands for, in case you're not aware, non-performing asset, okay, or non-performing loan. Okay. In case the CDR is approved, then it is not classified as, then it is classified as a proper loan. So if your CDR is approved, okay, then it is not an NPA, non-performing asset. In case your CDR is not approved and the bank files for winding up, liquidation of the company, then till the money is recovered, then it is a non-performing loan. So a very nice question again. Kingfisher has already applied, or Air India has applied for CDR. Chances are it will go through. Why it will go through is because the bankers are not in the mood to file up the winding up petition, right? Till that time, as on their books, right, it will be classified as a standard asset, not as a non-performing asset.
SBI is going to declare these companies. So who makes the restructuring program? The bank or the company?
Bank. The company will submit, bank has to vet. The bank has to vet, the bank has to reconfirm. And with my experience, I'll not take questions on this, right? Bank will not only, I'll not take questions on this, but I need to tell you how it works. Bank will not only see whether the business is feasible, is it a short-term thing or a long-term problem. If it is a short-term problem, they give it. If there's a long-term problem, they'll say no. Beyond finance, I will not take questions on this, but I'll leave you with sufficient idea of what I'm hinting at. Beyond finance, there are other pressures and pulls on the banker. Typically, when he looks at such deals, I hope, we are all corporate people, I hope you understand. SME रहेगा ना, banker's tone will be different. Right, right. No, right, right. The reason is not far to seek, sir. Right.
Perception of the banker,
and how you can influence it. So you also put up your hand. Nice question on NPA. Thank you.
We are talking about GDP.
Yes, yes.
It's based on the currency.
Yes.
So if Indian
Rajiv sir said that, yeah.
If Indian rupee it depreciates, like comes about to $10.
So automatically this is going to pull down our.
No. If you say example, the currency we are talking about the conversion currency. Do it have an effect on the GDP?
Yes, na, sir.
If it comes around, let's say, after 2-3 years, it is a very wide range, it comes less than 10 rupees, then the difference...
A dollar and
$10,
$10.
$10.
Achha.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
No. So what no. Let us be positive or negative. What is that 10? $1 is 10 rupees.
Yeah, 10 rupees.
$1 is 10 rupees.
Yeah, now it's 55 rupees. So it comes down 10. Do the difference comes down?
If wonderful question. No, we'll go with that, na, sir. Let's be positive, right? Right. If $1 is 10 rupees, right?
$1 is 10 rupees.
Correct, na, sir? That will push up our GDP. That will push up our GDP. As of now, earlier it was a nice question again, right? That's why Rajiv sir's question right at the beginning. 45 rupees was $1. So we will count in terms of rupees and then convert in dollars. So now this, are you getting what I'm trying to say? Right? Earlier 45 rupees, you just had to pay 45 rupees to get $1. Now you have to pay 52 rupees to get $1. Right? Thank you. Right? Why? Because rupee has depreciated. Please note, very important point. Thank you, sir. Rupee depreciation means you'll have to pay more of rupees to get $1. And the point is very well taken by the respected colleague. Rupee has depreciated far more than others, which we will discuss, which is a very nice point that the colleague brought about. What I was trying to explain is, typically in these conditions, dollar appreciates. And why dollar appreciates is because there is fear in the markets. Thank you. Right? One more, yeah?
With respect to GDP, now I don't say 90% GDP is the gross domestic product of
Yeah.
Then other
Yes, yes. Value of all the goods and services produced.
all the companies together, whatever taxes
Only
they
produce
return, they have.
Everything. But please note, double counting should be avoided. Right? Sir is giving me a raw material, I am processing it, and then I am selling it. So you should not count it at sir's end and my end also. There should be only one counting at one.
How do they value that?
Oh, the entire thing is right. The entire thing is we have got a very nice central statistic organization which collects data on a regular basis and then updates it. And let me tell you, since you are so very keen, I'll take questions. One sec. Right, since you're very keen, currently our GDP is driven by services. Right, services. Second is manufacturing. Third is agriculture. So if you like to know, right, about 55% of India's GDP comes from services, 30 odd percent comes from manufacturing, and 15 odd comes from agriculture. Okay, but can I also say something before I finish this discussion? Thank you, lovely questions. Right, I'll come back to balance sheet, but first I want to answer the questions that you colleagues are really asking. Excuse me, I have seen some very stupid analysis sometimes. I'm sorry I'm using the word stupid, but I mean this. I have one colleague who came across and said, oh, there is a drought in India. Doesn't matter. Right, because it will hit agriculture, and agriculture hardly contributes to 15% of our GDP. Never do such analysis. Huh? Please remember, thank you. Don't keep going only to GDP. Yes, agriculture contributes, Sujay sir, to only, right, Pankaj ji, only 15% of our GDP. But Jibu sir, you need to understand that it contributes to 50% of our employment. So I think, I'm not going to name anybody. It doesn't matter. When somebody senior says only 15%, you should, along with GDP, you should look at, there are other things also which are important. Right? What is the distribution of income? How is the unemployment rate coming in? And now, right, Sushi did it so very well. Spain, why? One of the reasons, I'm sorry I'm getting back there, last point there, I don't want to go into a discussion on macroeconomics, this is not the forum, but one of the reasons why I wrote in Financial Express saying that I expect a default from Spain coming in